Here we are, it's day 5. And today's chord is this. When I heard this chord, I immediately thought of Vince Guaraldi's music to the classic Peanuts Christmas special, and in particular O Tannenbaum, where he uses this chord, or a slight variation on this chord, quite a bit. And not just in this song, but other songs too. Sometimes, instead of having a G on top, he'll use an A, just a slight variation on the same chord. Let's hear an example in O Tannenbaum, where he does actually use the challenge chord for today. Right there. One more time. This is it. This is the challenge chord, except Guaraldi has omitted the G. He has omitted the 5th of the chord. And you might be wondering, what is this chord? Well, in this context, it is a C7 flat 9. We have root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th. Flat 9, of course. Not a D natural, but D flat. So that's the first thing that I thought of. Here is another application, and this one's really different. I've been mostly giving you examples each day from jazz or from other popular genres. But in this case, I was thinking of something a little more classical. Now that's just a short cadence that I came up with along the lines of something that you might hear from the 1700s or 1800s. And at the beginning of that progression, we heard this. I also added C on the top to start the melody. Up with a cadence in B flat major. So what is that first chord? Well, some theorists would call this a common tone diminished 7th chord, and it is a, let me see if I get this right, a C sharp fully diminished 7th chord. Of course, that's the tricky thing with fully diminished 7th chords, is that you can name them in a number of different ways. We can take these same 4 notes, start with C sharp, E, G, B flat, or we could start with E, G, B flat, D flat, or we could start with G, B flat, D flat, E, or F flat technically, and you could keep going from there. Could call this A sharp, C sharp, E, and G. There are a number of different ways to name and use these chords. And if you're at all familiar with fully diminished 7th chords, you know that they can resolve in quite a number of ways. I mentioned the phrase common tone diminished 7th chord, and in this case, when I go from this chord to this one, the common tone is actually B flat, which in this example happens to be the tonic note as well. So basically there we've got that common tone diminished 7th chord, which includes all the notes of the challenge chord. I also have that C natural on the top, forming, beginning the melody on top. It then goes to a B flat chord, then to an F major chord or F7, and then finally to B flat. Okay, here is our last example, really interesting one, in my opinion. I've taken the notes of the challenge chord, and I'm putting this C over here. Sounds a lot like what we were just doing, but I'm going to add one extra note in the bass. And now we've got a dominant function chord. It's an E flat 7, flat 9 with an added 13th. So root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, flat 9, and 13. And I'm going to A flat major. So that's another interesting use for today's challenge chord. That's all I have for you today. I'm looking forward to day 6.